Chris, what did you all like about DJ when you went out and added him after the spring, and how's he kind of adjusted so far?
Yeah, so DJ, man, he was a guy, like a lot of guys, man, we had a prior relationship with. We recruited him the first cycle through. And so we loved his length, his competitive nature. Kid's a competitor, he wants to compete. And so now it was about when things kind of changed at Michigan for us. Now it was about, he already kind of knew what the plan would be, in terms of his development. Now it's about being consistent in that plan, while he's here. I'm excited about, where he can be if he continues to invest in that process,
You go out and look at these guys at your roster, and it seems like they're all 6'3" and long and over 200. The little Max might be the little guy, and he's not, little by any stretch.
Yeah. Well, Coach, hey, that's a Coach Stoops standard, right? He wants length, man. And so even if they're not above that 6 foot, we want guys who are long, who are thick and firm. With losing Drew, so we had to go out and replace some body types with that. And so we were able to address that in recruiting. But that length, man, it's able to affect the reception point. Guys are able to finish tackles more efficiently with those long limbs, and it creates disruption in timing. And that's what that length does for us in terms of what we've been as a scheme. But now, getting more sticky and being able to do those things. So now we're trying to grow those guys in those attributes to be able to put the foot in the ground and all those good things.
Is there a learning curve kind of for guys built like that to learn how to use that to their advantage?
Yeah, for sure it is, because naturally a lot of times the guys you're going against aren't as big, right? And so they're a little bit fast, quick, and a little bit smaller, and so you got to use that length to your advantage and get yourself back in control of the routes. And so there is a learning curve to that, and it takes intentional work. Like, it doesn't just happen overnight. It takes intentional work, focusing on the details, playing with good pad level because I am tall, right? And then playing with patience and knowing when to use that length, And so that's the process, right? That's the process, and that's what makes us excited as coaches.
Back on signing day, Mark mentioned those freshman corners as guys that could play early. Just kind of where are they at in their adjustment period, I guess, learning this in college football?
Yeah, it's a lot. All right, college football is a lot compared to high school football. But the thing that I've been pleased, man, those guys have been workers. They've been intentional about the work, getting in early, spending time late, getting extra meeting times in their nap time and all that stuff. And so that's been encouraging. And so we're excited. It's fun to watch those guys when they can go play free on special teams and go, play football at its truest form. You start to see it, and then they get in that 11-on-11 defense. And you start thinking, they're thinking out there. So we're trying to limit the amount of where it's spinning to them so they can go play fast and elevate what God gave them.
Jason was a guy who made strides in the spring, it sounded like. How is he progressing? And is that still a thing maybe where you're all going to slide him down to nickel some, or are you just kind of working with him at cornerback right now?
Yeah, so JD, man, he's done a good job of understanding the process. Right? Everybody's process is different, and so early I think guys come in and they think it's supposed to happen, and so it takes time, right? It takes consistency, right? It takes commitment to that process, and then being willing to do more, right? Not just the bare minimum. And he's learning to do that, and I think he's starting to see some results. So, I told him today, man, hey, listen, I need you to continue on this path because he's going to give us some versatility in some different spots. And he's doing a good job of putting in that extra, that I talked about, trying to find a way to get an edge. And so he's got to continue to do that, and understand that process and know we're going to hold him to that standard.
What kind of growth have you seen with JQ since he got here?
Yeah, JQ are similar. They were the same class. Both of them came in as transfers. And sometimes, again, when you come in as a transfer, you think it's easy, right? We run an NFL-style defense, right? And so we're playing against the best receivers in the country. And so there's a learning curve. You talked about learning how to use your length. That was something that we really worked on with JQ throughout the summer, And so, again, that maturation process, starting to see guys put in extra time and guys study the film and guys come in and answer questions in meetings and be engaged. And when you see those things, a lot of times it carries over to the field.
JQ was just talking about with depth, it helps if Max gets a deep ball. You don't have to leave him out there for the next play.
Yeah.
How big a deal is that to have 4 or 5 guys that you feel comfortable with out there, even though Max is so good on his own?
Yeah, that's huge, man. I thank God every day. I pray every day for depth. Like, man, it's hard when it's only 1 or 2 of those guys, And so we're consciously trying to build that. We're consciously every year trying to build it. Some years are different. Every team's different, But again, I'm praying every night for it, All right, you can say a couple prayers for me too. I appreciate it.
How much of a challenge is it going up against those receivers every day, and how much better is that making your group, do you feel like, heading into this season?
Man, it's big time. It is. It was one of the things I think that really helped Max last year, because Max was we know how good he was because how hard he worked, but he was an unknown guy going into last season, but he worked against really good talent every single day and got better. And so those guys are competing, man. Coach Short's done an amazing job with that room in terms of like just getting those guys to every down work, And so what does that do to us? Iron sharpens irons. It forces us to be sharp every day and intentional about our work. And so that's a big piece of it, man. That development, in terms of what you go against in practice, it really helps can help expedite that.
We found that like bringing in a guy like DJ and adding him to the mix, has it just elevated the competition?
Oh, for sure, man. That's again, that's what we want. That's prayers, good Lord, man. Hear him every once in a while, all right. And so, that's what we brought DJ in to continue to elevate the standard. And the guys in the room understand that, right? They get it, right? They understand that, hey, man, I'm here to compete every single day, every single rep, and we're just trying to stack days. Why we do that? We stack plays, right? How we do that? We start the day off the right way with the right mentality, right? And then when we get to the bed at night, right, we put that one to bed and leave it alone, right? Learn from it, and then attack the next day, And so that's kind of been our mantra, our mentality, stack days throughout camp, and that's what we're working toward.
You mentioned you guys know how good Mac was going last season, but how does that coaching kind of change for him? Where you're like, hey, now everyone that we go against is going to know how good you are going into this season.
Yeah, no, it is. It's an intentionality, right? It doesn't just happen. We don't try to ignore the fact, right? And so we make sure he understands, right? And I think he's embraced that, that we're chasing perfection, right? In an imperfect game, it's never going to be that, right? And now that people are looking at you, how do you handle when it's not going perfect, And so I think he's been conscious about that work, conscious of investing in leadership, things that we talk about finding our voice, things that we've kind of helped him build towards. He's been intentional about doing those things. And so I'm excited. We don't know, we don't know what the future holds, but I'm excited about where he is and where the group is as a whole.